it's kind of unique to be able to come together every 3 years with the family, and it's really expansive. You don't see a lot of other families that have their cousins and then their second cousins all coming together.
The legacy that Grandma and Grandpa Roland left on us here today is profound, because the value of family is still together.
I just don't think that there's a lot of families out there like us. To do this for over 30 years, and our attendance is well over 75% on all of them. Everyone wants to come. That's what's neat, is they want to come. And I think that makes us special. Today's world, I just feel like that's something to cherish and something to be thankful for.
Because these aren't easy to put together, right? There's a lot of work that goes into them, but it's just kind of a labor of love, I think, when I say that, because this one does a lot more labor of love than myself.
But I like doing it. I mean, I enjoy party planning, I guess.
Yeah, but we all, pitch in to make it happen, so.
I've been to Iowa a couple times growing up, and I was just too young and didn't, understand the legacy. I'm gonna use that word specifically, and the importance of the Roland family and coming all together here. And now that I'm older and I understand more, just before we were driving around, and my mom actually was explaining just how well known the Rolands are here. And even in the parade yesterday, my grandpa's like, I went to school with them. It's just, I don't know, wild to see that there is a legacy of the Roland family, and that we can all come together and still build that by continuing this, and hopefully continuing this, with our generations and future children, etc. So.
My parents, on my mother's side, were German descent, and my dad was born in America, and his grandfather was born in Kentucky. So he always considered himself an American, but we've traced it down to France and Germany. As far as my grandparents, I did not know any of my grandparents except one grandfather, and that was on my father's side. And my grandpa would come and stay with my folks on the farm and try to help out on the farm too. But that was the only grandparent that I knew. My childhood, I figure I came from a good childhood. My mother and dad, we always went to church, and there were 6 of us. It seemed like we all had to go whenever they went, we went. But we had neighbors from the farm, different, that would come and play cards and this sort of thing, and then us kids would play kick the can or different things, and Annie, I over, and that's ball going over the roof of the house or something, and you had to catch it, and we had a good time, and that was often because everybody was more or less, the farm neighborhood were all in the same situation, and so that was their social life. And my mother always worked on the farm. She never worked anyplace else. But and my dad, we always had hired men, and mother sometimes would have a hired girl, especially when she was pregnant and having a baby. Why, she would have help, and we got to be quite close to every one of them.
Well, my memories go back further or all the way to the beginning. I remember going to the country school. Went to a country school until through my 5th grade, and it was one-room schoolhouse with like 10, 12 people there with grades from kindergarten to 8th grade. And one of the last semesters of my 5th grade, my sister was a teacher. Marion was a teacher.
We could teach, of course, we took in high school, we could teach country school. So then it was during the war. When I graduated, I was only 17. But they would let you teach because of the war. So I taught at school 2 miles south of our home place. I wasn't 18 until February, so I was almost like one of the kids.
Right.
And I got along fine. Well, we were fortunate to grow up with hard-working parents and loving parents.
We had a garden where we produced virtually all the fruits and vegetables that Mother and Marion and other people canned for the whole year. We had corn like Diane has here. We had peas, carrots, radishes, potatoes,
Strawberries.
everything is in the garden. And we had like maybe an acre of potatoes, and then we had a machine to dig them up, and it had a process where it just put the potatoes on the top of the soil rather than being buried, and all those went into the cave. And then we had chickens, and we sold eggs every week to the hatchery or to wherever they buy the eggs, and that was their main source of daily or weekly income. And the same way with the cream from the cows, that was also sold, and they got paid for that. So that was the daily source of revenues. And then the big course is the crops, and then we raised probably a couple of hundred pigs every year, fed them to the market. Dad would buy calves when they weighed 400 or 500 pounds and feed them until they weighed 1,000 pounds. And that, those are big checks, but the smaller checks was the eggs and the cream.
You go to town on Saturday night, and then you take some eggs along, and you trade them for your groceries. Well, of course, they give you the difference, but you bring eggs in to pay for the groceries.
But we also all had chores. I mean, every night we'd come home from school and we'd have a certain amount of chores to do. One of my big chores was taking care of the chickens. In my later teenage years, we'd had like 2,000 hens, each in an individual cage, where I'd have to go gather the eggs of over 1,600 eggs a day, and then pack them in 30 dozen boxes. So and Jean was sort of helped with the cows, milking cows. I fed the cattle. But we had to do that every day. We had those kind of chores to do. Well, we always had nice holidays. We had it on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, on all the holidays. A lot of the family got together and had like a feast. We had a cave that was like 14 feet deep. All the potatoes that we grew in the summertime and stored, they all went down there and they ate off those potatoes all year round. Well, of course, Marion is the oldest.
I was the first a year after they were married.
They were married in 1925. She was born in 1926. And then Dorothy Ann came 3.5 years later. And then John came on her 7th birthday. 2 years later, my brother Gene. 2 years later, me. 2 years later, Audrey. She was born in 1938. I was born in 36.
Well, I'm the oldest grandchild, so I think I was a little spoiled by Grandpa and Grandma. I remember Grandpa bringing home a little red wagon, and I must have been about 3, and everybody was around, and he brought it in, And then when there were more of us, Donald and Paul, we'd go over there and we'd get Coke, bottles of Coke, which we never got at home, and we'd drink it out of little shot glasses, and it was just fun. And Yeah, and then when Grandpa and Grandma moved to town and we moved over there, spent a lot of time at Grandpa and Grandma's house. Like after Luther League, go over there, and Mom and Dad pick us up there. After school sometimes, and Grandpa and Grandma always were, I always thought they had about the best marriage because they would always visit. I mean, Gordon and I don't visit that much, but Grandpa would go downtown and get all the news and then come back for lunch, and then they'd visit about it. And I just thought that was really neat.
One of the things that I loved when I would go to grandmother's, and we would always come together, and since Mary and Walt lived here, my Aunt Marion and Uncle Walt, so we had cousins here, and they had the swimming pool, they had the park there all the time, and we would always, and then the 4th of July and everything. It's just iconic America. It really was. I mean, and I've actually come back and brought my 2 youngest by myself one year, and it was like picture perfect weather like it is today. And I just remember driving one evening, and the kids were pretty young. They were like 10 and 8, and it was getting almost dark, and the whole cornfield lit up with fireflies. And I was like, this is Grandma. This is Grandma and Grandpa. This is where my mom lived. It's warm. It just makes you feel good. And those are the memories that I cherish.
Yeah, it's so appropriate that we're here for the 4th of July because we always came back for the 4th of July. And, one of the memories is we had to be in the parade just like we were this year. And our Aunt Marion one year just took that afternoon, took a bunch of scraps and sewed a clown's outfit for her. I got one of those, cool banana seat bicycles, and we decorated it all up so I could ride in the in the 70s. I could ride in the parade. I think Beth had her horse in the parade. I mean, it was all so still that tradition of that 4th of July parade still enduring after all these years. That that us being in the parade was a lot more significant, I think, than to some, just because that was such a big deal to do.
The first one was at the lake at Yankton. This is our 11th reunion every 3 years. Each sibling was responsible for a reunion. And then after those 6, then the next generation picked it up. And as a result, this whole family, we all know each other.
Because of the difference in age, you just meet so many new different people, that you don't realize that, hey, actually you're related, but yeah.
It's really good for the whole family to get to know each other and love each other and get along like this family.
The first one was in 1994, and our Aunt Dorothy started it and decided she wanted to have a reunion. And we got to meet her kids and all our cousins, and it was just kind of something we started. And it kind of went off as that, as like, well, let's try to do this again, and let's do it. Okay, we can't do it every year. It's just impossible with families. So we'll do it every 3 years. And especially the first one, our grandfather was still alive. It was good to see him there.
Our vacations were coming to Grandma's, right? So that was, family was what we came to see. All the kids running around and just getting to know each other, because as I know, as a kid, I couldn't wait to go to Aunt Marion's and hang out with Beth and ride the horses and, smell the pigs sometimes, which wasn't that, I could wait for that, but,
Us coming from St. Louis, a city,
yeah.
And then coming out here and opening the door, you're like,
but
and the flies. But the riding the horse was fun.
Playing in the garden with the dogs, just all the outside, just being with the cousins, that was a big deal.
So we might not see each other for 6 months, a year, 2 years. And when you get back together, when this family, when the shepherds bring their flocks together, the sheep together again, it's like we were never separated. It's like time never passed, and you just pick up where you left off before. And I think that's so important, that they left that sense of love and fellowship with all of us, and we value that.
For me, so I was born at the same time as Kara and Danielle, within about a month of each other. So this is the only time we ever get to see each other is every 3 years, or sometimes weddings, or sometimes other miscellaneous family get-togethers, but it's always really awesome to be able to come connect and see what they've been doing over the past 3 years. And one of the coolest things that I've seen is the family just has continued to grow and grow and grow and get bigger. Family is just it's so important to everybody, and it's a family that you can sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's good, but it's a family that always will accept you no matter what.
This family is so full of love, and everybody from Walt and Marion, who I thought were just the greatest in-laws that I could ever ask for, as well as my husband and all the aunts and uncles. You know, it's just a blessing for everybody to have that value of what a wonderful family that was, those 6 children and their spouses.
So for me, one of the biggest things is the connection, that it seems like everybody can be away from each other for 3 years at a time in some cases, and then they come back together and it's like that no time has passed, and there just seems like there's a really strong bond between everyone. And even though we're not seeing each other every day, we find ways to stay connected, and I find that really special, because that's not something that I have in my own family, and it's one of the things that I admire the most about Chris's family and all the people in it, and just how welcoming and warming they've been. Gosh, yeah. Like I said, my first one was 2009, and it's kind of a special little homecoming because this one is in the same place as where it was in 2009.
My brothers and I and Kelsey and the Chadwicks, like, we're all at that age where, like, we're getting married now. We're in, like, these really long-term relationships, and we're talking about, like, weddings and inviting each other. And it just, you know, we get to share, like, those moments outside of the reunion. So when we are together here at the reunion, it just builds the community even more, you know?
As I'm thinking about our whole family, I thought about family, food, and fun, right? Because they were our vacations, right? So the family part, we've kind of talked about food. No one makes better sweet rolls than Grandma Roland. And I loved her society pickles. To me, the best pickles in the world. So, and the thing that we have to talk about is my sister now
make those cinnamon rolls every year.
Makes the best cinnamon rolls every year, and I make at least. And the pickles take a whole week to make. They're pretty arduous, but I make at least one batch every year in memory of Grandma. So from a food standpoint and sharing food, I think that's a value that's important, and it's part of reunions and part of family. And then the fun is games, because my memory of Grandpa is playing Wahoo, is Grandpa beating us in Wahoo, and just kind of giving that little grin, like.
We did that in Hearts too.
In Hearts.
Oh my God, we go around the table.
And our immediate family didn't play a lot of games together. So, but when we got together with the Rolands, we always played Hearts or card games or Wahoo or some type of games. And that kind of fun, family fun together, I think is something, as a really good memory that's a value that I've tried to instill in my kids, in my family, immediate family too.
It's monumental that we're able to come back to Inwood after 100 years and be able to share that. And you think about this whole family came from just 2 people, and now we're over 80 people. That's really awesome, and it means a lot. And even like going through the parade and the announcers were explaining, this is the Roland family reunion. They have it every year. They're coming back here after for the 4th of July, and then the town is saying, hi Marion, hi Kim. It's just, there's a presence and an impact that the Roland family has had, that really means a lot. I think something that has been really important for me and for my husband is that my husband, we met 6 years ago. His first reunion was 3 years ago, and he came in and was immediately welcomed and brought in as part of the family. And that always doesn't happen in some families. So that just really meant a lot to us, that the rest of the family just embraced him. It's like, you are part of the Roland family immediately.
So it's going to be tested now a little bit, because we're sort of running into a different generation now. Are they going to keep it up? And the relatives are not really that close relatives anymore because of so many generations. So we'll see if anybody volunteers tomorrow night to be the director of the next one 3 years from tonight. So it'll probably happen. But the original siblings are sort of reaching the age that, well, look at 3 of them are missing now. So 3 years from now, there'll probably be some more of us missing.
Well, I would hope the traditions of getting together would still be there, even though everybody's very far apart.
I think it's important to continue this tradition because it holds you to your roots. And I'll go back to that sense of family, the sense of belonging, the fellowship. And we have such a unique story here that I think we have to find a way to continue that.
Well, I think it's been important for my kids is because they get to see how their cousins that live in different places live, and then also how they can come together. And even coming here to this reunion, they go, okay, now tell me everyone's names and who belongs to who, and they really were interested. They want to, and now with social media and all that stuff, they connect with them all, which is huge, That's a good positive thing with social media. So it's just important for me to know the history, and that it's just not them out there, and that there's other people, and the family's dynamic are different, and everyone has issues, and everyone has great things happen, and we want to share that.
So it's kind of neat that next generation is starting to see, okay, at some point it's going to be our job, and we're going to need to do it. And I feel like that these reunions are prepping them to be able to take that further.
Like just being motivated to connect with one another. I know like social media is like such a big thing, and especially for like my generation, and it was really cool to kind of like see everyone this weekend and be like, I see pictures of you on Facebook all the time. And I said that to one of the kids, and I was like, that sounds really creepy. But like I've never met you before, because maybe you're 3 years old or 4 years old. And I think just connecting on Facebook and Instagram, and when am I seeing you next, and making those small comments, and oh my gosh, now it's like 6 months later and your child like grew up, and it's like, whoa. And that also will, I think, help keep the motivation by just like connecting with one another through social media. One thing that I really look forward to is the gift exchange dinner party that we're going to be doing tonight. And that's one thing I really remember about these reunions. I just remember like the slideshows and the old photos, and I think that itself, like that specific night in the reunion, is a motivation for us to come together, because I think it's a special night. And like with the whole gag gifts and the white elephant and who's gonna bring what, and it kind of brings like everyone's personality out, as well as like what gift did they bring, so I think just keeping those little things in mind moving forward of, is this gonna happen again? Like, who's gonna pick up the torch to plan the next reunion? They have to remember the little moments Like the venue, of course, like the location, that's super important, but what about the small moments about the slideshow that plays and the white elephant gifts and sharing personal experiences with one another that we don't get to see outside since we're all over the country.
Our kids enjoy coming here. Yeah, they just want to see the people, and it's a family. And I love it in the respect that, I will say this, that a friend of mine said when he said we were coming up here, and he said, people still do that? And that to me was even showed more how powerful this family really is and how unique. And we just feel blessed, even though we take it for granted because it's always happened. But we kind of also realize that maybe it may not happen someday if people don't come and don't feel connected. But I think the love is there, and I think the love has to be shared.
Well, these reunions are very valuable. We should
Continue it, hope so.
But what I'd pass on to people is truth and hard work. Just stick to the truth and be willing to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, be honest, work hard, and hey, life will come to you and you will do good,
That's probably really our foundation is, truth, hard work, and love.